This is a Go to War podcast, which is a mindset.
It's time to go to war.
You're the fucking problem. Get your mind right and get ready to go to war.
It's time to go to war.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Go to War podcast. This is your host, John Paramore. Listen, I told you guys over the last couple podcasts that I was going to start bringing some badass entrepreneurs on for you guys. And you guys know last week, Ben was with us. Today, Tomas is with us. And I'm going to introduce Tomas for you guys here in just a second. But I got to do the basic stuff with you guys right out of the gate. You guys know, number one, this is not a paid podcast, which means I don't take sponsors. I'm not getting paid to do this. This is me taking 20 years of my wisdom and knowledge and pouring them into you guys. And now we're combining that with some other incredible business people. Second, you guys know that when we have these podcasts and I'm on these podcasts, you guys know me by this point. From time to time, I get really, really excited. I get passionate about what I'm doing, and I will drop an F-bomb here, maybe some other colorful words. If that bothers you guys when you listen to this, the last thing we need are negative reviews, negative comments, nonsense like that. So if you're allergic to that type of language, this is not the podcast for you. I'm going to ask you guys to go do something else, maybe pick out some type of nursery rhyme podcast or something that serves you better, because this ain't going to be it, okay? So that being said, I'm going to bring on a guest. If you guys are watching this, you're going to want to take notes. You're going to want to grab some pen and a piece of paper and take notes on this podcast, because we're going to be rapid fire. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things, but my man today, Tomas Keenan, is a business badass. Built a lot of businesses, runs a lot of businesses, or at least two that I know of, probably more once we get into it. And this guy is a wizard when it comes to operations and probably the majority of business growth altogether. So Tomas, welcome to the Go to War podcast. How you doing, brother?
Hey, man. First things first, I'm grateful for being here. And I really appreciate you throwing out the invite to me. And you know me, dude, I want to come here and drop some value to your audience as much as possible.
So let's do it. So give me, if I was going to say, which is hard, right? Because I've been doing this for 20 years, but give me how long you've been doing this and kind of like, I don't know, like the 3-minute background of who you are and what you do and, you know, the value that you're bringing to people. Give us a summary of that.
Yep, I'll give a rapid fire version of it because it's a long ass story. First things first, I started in the car audio industry at the age of 17. Before I graduated high school, I was an MCP certified installer. So I had a piece of paper that said I knew what the fuck I was doing, even though I had no idea. From there, I transitioned in, got heavily involved in that industry, and my aspirations were to become the best installer that I could. And I wanted to work on the high-end cars, work with the fancy people, the fancy cars, and I did it. I did it well for quite some time. That kind of led me to my first business, which I crashed and burned hard to the ground.
Yeah, baby. Welcome to the club.
Boss. Yeah. So I knew more than my boss, and or so I thought, but I knew more than he did in the vehicle. I did not know more than he did as far as running the business overall, and literally just shot myself in the foot and crashed and burned that sucker within 5 years. Went to work for someone for a couple of years and then jumped right back into business ownership in 2009. Started up a GPS tracking and dash camera installation company with a partner, and we took that thing to a multi-7-figure business per year. Had 20 plus employees working for us, big contracts, anything from FedEx's, UPS's to food delivery companies, all the way up to the federal government. So we got to work on big fleets across the U.S. and then some. And that really was the area where I was forced to learn about business or I was going to die. And basically that was what happened, Life-altering event happened. My daughter came into the world. She's a year older than your kid. And that right there was the trigger for me to go out and actually become an adult and get serious about business. Up until that point, I was a business owner, but I wasn't serious about the business. All I cared about was putting the shit in the vehicle.
So listen, man, some of these questions that I'm going to ask you are going to put you on the spot, but I think it's important for the people that listen to this podcast to hear a lot of different versions of some similar questions that I've been asking guys in the past, right? So I'm going to ask you, number one, what drives you? What drives you to get your ass out of bed every day and go to war with yourself and inside of your business and inside of your family? Like what really drives you?
Oh, that's easy. I love when people tell me I can't do something.
Oh yeah. Okay, good.
And there's probably not, if you look into the psychological back end of that, there's probably some fucked up things going on back there. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Awesome. So outside of that, what would you say has been the greatest lesson that you've learned as an entrepreneur? Like what's if one thing stuck out to you, yep, and you could say to yourself, this is the best thing or the greatest lesson that I've learned, what is that thing?
Fulfillment is only 20% of the process. So for instance, I started out as a badass car audio guy, and I thought that's all that was needed to be successful in business. But once I actually learned what the fuck it really took, it was very clear and apparent to me that doing the work was only 20% of the recipe. The rest of it was sales, marketing, accounting, getting your name out there, getting in front of people, networking, communicating, all those other areas of business that aren't sexy and fancy that no one really cares about, especially coming from an industry where, you know, the look, the touch, the feel, the tangibility of the product that you put into the vehicle was so paramount.
Yeah, I love that. So you said earlier, and I'm totally in alignment with you. When somebody says to me, it's not possible or it can't be done, that's one of my drivers too, man. That's one of the things that fuels me in the morning. I mean, we built, there's 7 companies going on in this one space right now, right? That we own. And every single time that we try to break that down and tell somebody, and honestly, we're in the development side of number 8 and number 9. It's funny to me, and I'm sure you can relate to this when you say things like this, and I'm segueing into this next question that I'm about to ask you, but you say things like this to fucking normal people, quote unquote, and their minds explode. Like, I get this question all the time, which I'm sure you get too, like, why do you do so much? Like, why do you do what you do? So if you, like, I know that you're involved still in your everyday day-to-day business, but you're also involved in Apex, which I'm in. Dude, why do guys like you and I do what we do? Like, why are we just, I know my reason, but why are you like hell bent other than, I got to prove to the world that, if the people that say that I can't do it, I got to prove to them that I can do it. Why? There's a deeper thing going on in you that you just keep wanting to help more and more people. Why are you doing that?
Yeah. Well, it comes down to getting clear. I'm a big proponent of getting clear on core values and on your purpose in life. And I've done that. So my number one driving core value is I refuse to be average. And on top of that, I know for a fact that my purpose is I've been put here on this planet to help others succeed in business. I don't know how much clearer I could dictate that to somebody.
You can't.
But that's it.
That's
and
pretty
it took
unclear.
20 something years for me to figure that out. It wasn't like all of a sudden one day I woke up and boom, there it was.
Yeah, I love that. How do you get clear? So listen, if there's a guy listening to this right now and he's like, yep. I asked this question yesterday on Facebook and I'm like, do you think people struggle with more trying to figure out what they want, or they know what they want and they know what the price is and they just don't want to pay the price? Like, how do you get somebody clear? How do you get clear? How do you get to the point where you can be having a conversation with somebody and they're like, this is what I want?
Yeah. It's a great question. I had a coach that forced me to play the why game a couple of years back. And every time I gave him it was a rapid fire thing. Every time I gave him an answer, he'd be like, why? And I give him another answer, be why? And you had to hit him back and respond very quickly. That was one method or technique that I used that got me somewhat clear. That wasn't the ultimate thing for me personally. The way that it worked for me to get clear, and this goes for your personal life, this also goes to business life. I'm a huge proponent that as a business owner, right, or the leader of your clan, your house, you have to establish a vision. Okay, a vision is 3 equal components. Your vision is your mission, your purpose, and your core values. For me, it always came natural to figure out the core values first.
Yeah.
What do I believe in? What do I not believe in? Once I laid the foundation of the core values, then the mission and purpose came in above it.
I love that. So give me an example, and I'll share with you too. I'm an open book, but give me an example of, like, if you had to hang your hat on one core value that once you figured out that you needed core values and you had to put your hat on one, what's the core value that sticks out to you the most?
I refuse to be average.
I love that.
That's the biggest one.
Yeah.
I have others too. I'm in accumulation mode is a personal core value of mine. So no matter fucking what, there's always money that's getting stashed away for something that's going to happen or come in the future.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy when the opportunity comes and says, hey, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. I've got nothing in no cash on hand to go out there and invest in that opportunity.
I love that. That's huge. That's actually a great lesson for you. And I'm going to come back to the core value here in a second, but you hear this term all the time. People that say, I'm a serial entrepreneur, which basically is like, I own a whole bunch of shit, but I'm broke kind of thing. Right. So, so one of my core values is the one that stands out to me the most is do what's required despite how you feel. Right. And when I think about that, that's probably the biggest thing that separates. And I hate to use this term because it sounds like I'm fucking giving myself a pat on the back, but that's what separates me and the guys that I would actually label like you and me and some other guys that we know. It separates us from what I would label as the average, because I don't live in a world where I make decisions by feelings. And I'm sure, like, dude, we come across, I know you do too, because you're a coach and the group we're in and all that good stuff. But it's like, how many people do you know they basically base all of their decisions that they make on how they feel and not what's required, right? And that shit drives me nuts. Like, if you know what's required and you know that that's the work that has to be done, why would you not do that if you know that on the other side of that, you're going to get the reward? So what do you think is why do people live in that mindset? Like, why do they live in the world of feelings and not facts and not willing to do whatever it takes to get to the other side?
Because it's easy and it's comfortable.
That's
it's
it.
as simple as that. It's like, it's a lot more comfortable to sit home on the couch, eat potato chips, and drink 6 beers a night.
Yeah.
I love doing that. I ain't lying to you. Okay. It's one of my favorite pastimes. However, I know that if I do that 5-6 nights a week, I'm going to swell up like a tick. And the thing is, what most people don't understand about that is the more time you sit there doing nothing, it increases the level of unproductivity.
Yeah.
From you. So you have no desire to do more. You get lazier and lazier the further down that rabbit hole you go. And I'm telling you from firsthand experience, because I'm an expert there too.
Yeah, dude.
I've done it, man.
Yeah.
I've swelled up like a tick before.
Yeah, I'm guilty of. I think everybody is. Honestly, I don't know a single successful person that hasn't been in that space, right? That hasn't gone through this place of like, well, I'm doing pretty good, so I can kind of take it easy, right? And I think one of the things that I've learned from this really smart guy named Andy Frisella is you got to get up every day and act like somebody's coming to take the shit away from you every single day, right? That's how you stay hungry. And it's almost why when we built this brand, Go to War, we had to, we were like thinking about like, what is the mindset that I've lived in for so long? That's I have a lot of people ask me that question. What's the driver that gets you up in the morning? What keeps you going? All that stuff. When I always say to people, for me, I look in the mirror and I look at that dude and I'm like, there's always another level. There's always another level. And when I look at the guy in the mirror and I say to myself, well, I've arrived, it's going to be me lying to me. I'm never going to arrive anywhere. Right. So when you like, what's the end game for you? Like, what's the end game for you? Like, I don't know that I have like an end in mind, like what ends up happening. And you could tell me if this is the same thing that happens to you or not, but what ends up happening to me is I create something and I go over, I arrive to basically like a level, and then I look up, you start to feel like that complacency kind of set in. And then you're like, well, shit, there's a whole nother level that I could create. Right. Do you ever get that? Does that same thing kind of register in your mind, or is there an end for you? Like you're working to create something?
No, the only end that I have will be the day that I die.
Yeah.
To me, I'm never satisfied, and to a fault at some point. I know Ed Milet says a lot. You've got to be blissfully dissatisfied, and I agree with that 100%. I don't know about you, but I struggle with when I accomplish that goal, when I crush that fucking goal, I have trouble stopping to literally smell the roses, even if it's for 30 seconds, to say, oh shit, look what I actually did.
Yeah.
To me, it's like go, 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 go. And you get, like you said, you get to that level. It's like you hit You get to that plateau right there, you accomplish the goal, and then you look up and you're like, oh shit, we got another 100 meters to go.
That's it.
And man, like I'm okay with that too. And I agree with you. There's always another level. I mean, shit, we just went on this badass trip down to Cabo last week, and I brought my wife intentionally because I've seen it before, but I need her to see it. I need her to get involved. I need her to go into the house. I need her to surround herself with those people so that she can see what's possible, and it unlocks something in her head as well. And it's not just my crazy husband telling me what's possible out there. No. You just went and you saw it with your own eyes. So now we're going to go kill this together.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
Good question. I think I'm going.
Don't let your wife watch this.
So, hey, I got a hack there real quick. I got married on July 4th for a reason. I will never forget the day, ever. I think this, actually, I don't think I know this July 4th coming up is going to be 12 years.
Okay, sweet. So as one entrepreneur to another, how difficult has it? So there was a point in my life where, and even still a little bit today, but I think there's a point where the people in our life, whether it's our spouse, our kids, people from friends that we have on the outside, like, dude, they just don't get it. Like, and I think that's really smart of you to take your spouse on a trip like that. So when you're coming home and you're telling her about all these stories about things that you're experiencing or how you've decided to do this thing and she thinks you're fucking nuts, now she can see it and it kind of just opens her up to, I think one of the things that kind of on that same point, sometimes we say things and they think we're nuts, right? And they're like, we don't need that, right? But then you take them on a trip like you just saw and they open the possibility and the verbiage starts to change from not need, but it's like, that's actually possible. What just happened is possible. And I think that's a beautiful space. Once somebody opens their mind up to what is possible, it allows them to completely relate to crazy people like you and me and realize like, dude, if we think it, if we imagine it, we cast a vision on it, and we really sit down and think, our minds begin to sit down and sit us down and think about how can we create that, right? So if I'm sitting at home, here's a really great question for you along those lines. If I'm sitting at home and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm trying to get my spouse or my kids to understand, or people close to me to understand what it is that I'm building, would you recommend taking them on trips like that? Would you recommend bringing them into the office? How do you get somebody's mind to open up like that?
Yeah, great question. And this is something that I'm a big proponent of because, and I want to get clear here for the listeners too. This doesn't just apply to your spouse or your kids. This could be to your business partner. This could be to someone that you care about in life who you're trying not to leave the fuck behind.
That's a great
very
point.
Important.
Great point. It's somebody that I care about in life that I'm trying not to leave behind. Yeah. That's fucking
what
money.
What happens is, we start self-developing ourselves and we start that hockey stick progression. We start, just growing at an immense pace. And it's like you trotted along in life at this average normal level this whole time. You and your partner like zipped along, right? And all of a sudden you rocket ship up like this, but your partner, your spouse, your mom, your brother, they still stay at this level and they're not self-developing. Well, now as time increases, you're going up, they stay the same. And this gap, this chasm between the two of you keeps growing at an exponential rate. So now if you want to basically have a conversation with that person, it's almost like talking to a wall or someone who just doesn't get you because they don't understand what you're even talking about because they haven't had those experiences.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said, if I went and told my wife, and it's probably the same thing with you, dude. You go home, you tell the wife, hey, I got this crazy idea to blah, 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 and this is how it's going to work. And we're going to make all this money and it's going to be all this crazy cool shit. And she's going to look at you like, it's another one of those crazy fucking ideas from
exactly.
John, Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But if you brought your wife, let's say your wife comes into one of our networking meetings, a Flying Friday, right? And she hears somebody else in the room tell that version of the story. Now, guess what? That edified what you said. And all of a sudden your wife says, oh shit, that's a good idea. And it's not because she disrespects you. It's just you're constantly saying that kind of things and they kind of go deaf to it. But when an outsider says the same thing, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. That's good stuff. All right. So if there's a young entrepreneur a young potential entrepreneur listening to this podcast, give them like some words of wisdom based on your experience or based on your knowledge. I don't know, give them some hope, give them some, a picture into the future of, you know, maybe it's something that you learned in your past. And dude, I've had, if you and I just did a podcast on shit that we fucked up, it would probably be 4 hours long. Right. So I would just give them something based on your level of wisdom from your point of view, based on either something you blew up or something you were really good at or, you know, whatever, but give them something to kind of, you know, like hang their hat on and say, man, like, I'm glad he said that.
Real simple. There's never a right time. And this doesn't just apply to business. This is life overall. Okay. There's never a right time to get married. There's never a right time to go buy that car, the one you're dreaming about or the one you want. There's never a right time to go buy the house. There's never a right time to go have the first kid, the second or the third, right? There's never a right time for any of that shit. Just if it's something that's on your list and you want it, go the fuck after it and get it done. Because no one's ever going to say, oh, guess what? Now it's time for you, John. It's okay. You can go ahead, son. You can go ahead and buy that first house. No one's ever going to fucking tell you that.
I love that.
If you wait for that moment, it's too late.
It's too late. Yeah, and I think that you're exactly right. That applies to everything, right? Like we see people all the time that are like, I'm waiting for that perfect moment. I'm waiting for the circumstance to happen. I'm waiting for the thing to come. I'm waiting for the stars to align and it to be a full moon on a specific date. And then, like you said, then that shit happens, and then they'll just make another excuse of what else they're waiting on for shit to get better so that they can take that leap. And I totally agree with you. If I could talk to I don't know, my younger self jumped right in balls deep. My parents thought I was nuts, but if I could talk to most, I probably get 4 or 5 DMs a month of people that say, hey, I'm currently working in a job that I fucking hate, but I want to open up a business. What's the first thing I should do? And usually my response is the same thing. Dude, pull the fucking trigger. Like, go all in, pull the trigger, the only reason why you're not doing it is because you don't trust your fucking self. So you got to do the work consistently, be consistent in your daily activities. Then you're going to learn to trust yourself. Then pulling the trigger isn't going to be so hard. Right. So I would say same thing you said, pull the trigger, make the move. The time is now. If you hear the voice screaming in the back of your head, which is what ultimately led me to build what I have now, dude, it's time. And you can try to deny it, but that voice ain't going away. It's not going to get any quieter. So
yeah, man, for sure.
All right, brother. It's been awesome having you on. So I know, listen, where can people find you, number one? Yep. And number two, are you writing a book? Do you have a book? Where are you with all that stuff? I know we get challenged on that all the time. So
yeah. So I just got called out to write another one. I do have one already. It's #1 bestseller on Amazon. It's called Unfuck Your Business.
Love it.
And the best place to grab that, I'll give you 2 websites. They both point to just about every place that I exist and live on social media. The first one is connectwiththomas.com. And the second one is thomaskeenan.com.
And it's
just keep in mind there's no H in my name.
That's I was just getting ready to say that. And it's TOMAS. So we'll make sure when we post this up for people to grab a hold of it that they know that, because that's and listen, you guys that listen to this podcast, I tell you guys the same shit. You got to remember, he's here volunteering this information to you. Neither one of us are getting paid to come here and share wisdom and knowledge for you. So do the right thing and go over to his site and buy his book. Like, for fuck's sake, it's not that big a deal. I mean, you're going to spend, probably $15, $20, shit, I don't know. And you're going to get a book, and there's going to be nuggets in there, and you're going to learn some shit. You're going to be happy that you did it. So just do it. Go over there, grab his book, send him a message of support, let him know you, and thank him for being on the show today. And I want to thank you for taking some time, because I know you're a busy dude. So thanks for hanging out with us today. I'd love to do this again. The more that we get to know each other, we're probably going to come across some more stuff that we can rap about on one of these podcasts. So I'm sure there'll end up being a part 2. Maybe you can even come into this studio and we get together face to face and do it and really go crazy with it. But dude, thank you so much for hanging out today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. And you know me, dude, I'm game for that. So you want to put something together where we do it in person? Let's roll. And likewise, you could even do it when you come down here to Texas next round.
Absolutely.
Let me know. We'll get you on my podcast as well.
Absolutely. If I come to Texas, though, none of that freezing weather shit. So none of that. Man, I come down there because it's warmer. It's colder here. So All right, brother.
Thanks, dude.
Take care. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you soon.
It's time to go to war.
Thank you for listening to the Go to War podcast. For more information about Smash, please visit www.thesmashco.com. This has been the Go to War podcast.